I'll introduce Sara. Sara Mazer is the federal CTO for Launch Darkly, a feature management company that is helping organizations separate deployments from releases and modernize DevSecOps platforms. She is a certified enterprise architect with a focus on government agencies and an AWS certified cloud practitioner. She holds a patent as the co-inventor of solid-state hard drive algorithms from her prior work as a chip and system designer. Before Launch Darkly, she was a director at a NoSQL database company and was a contributor to the book Semantics for Dummies. She has 3 rescue dogs, and on the weekends, she is frequently found at local pet supply stores supporting adoption events. She's also a member of a secret society, but she can't tell us which one. So now I'm just going to sit here and wonder. And with that, I will pass it over to Sara.
Thanks for inviting me to present today. And I just want to say that this paper writing experience, well, I was just really humbled and honored to be a part of it. I worked with such legends in the DevOps community like Nick Kirsten and Tom Limoncelli, the brilliant rising SRE star, Christina Yakomen, who is literally the backbone of the paper, and Josh Atwell, who spent way too much time herding cats and keeping us on track. Satya Adargala and Jeff Tyree were both at Fannie Mae at the time, and they gave us this idea. And Steve Pereira, despite missing the conference sessions, came through in the end with some really great contributions to the paper. So I'm talking about the paper today, but it was 100% a team effort with input from very brilliant minds, not me included. So as I mentioned, Jeff and Satya proposed a topic around a problem they were trying to solve at Fannie Mae. It's the familiar yet incredibly complex problem around finding that ideal team size and the number of tasks that their developers could handle. And they're moving towards a you build it, you operate it model and thinking about where traditional SRE functions might fit. So could they add an SRE task to the developer's list of things to own? Smaller teams of everyone doing everything, or have a larger team with an SRE? Would having a standardized platform help make things easier so that DevOps engineers could absorb more and do more? Well, that's the super hard $64 million question in DevOps today. So of course, the brilliant minds got together and did the most logical thing we could do, run away as fast as we could. So you see team sizes, number of tasks to take on, those aren't going to have a one-size-fits-all solution. And what it would look like for Fannie Mae won't be the same for a smaller company or a Google. And platform standardization, that's a journey. It's not an end state. So every organization is at different levels of maturity. But what we could tackle is what role having a standardized platform could play. So how do you create an environment that supports a standardized platform as well as developer freedom and innovation at the same time? And then we address how would a platform impact cognitive load, and how do you even measure that in the first place? And then we follow up with comments on what's an optimal environment and some standardized platform recommendations to help organizations get started. Now, to understand if there would be a benefit, you have to first look at the existing state of the developer experience. And being that this is DORA community who loves statistics, and here's some interesting ones from our paper with credit going to the reference MuleSoft survey. So the top 3 causes of developer burnout are increasing workload and demands from other teams, pressure of digital transformation, and requirements to learn new skills. So we're getting into cognitive load. And then more than 3/4 of organizations say cognitive load is so high that it causes angst and low productivity. And almost everybody said that they need solutions that automate key processes so developers can do more with less. So here, platforms could play a role. And to determine if platforms will help cognitive load, we have to define cognitive load. And it's the total amount of mental effort used in working memory. And it's broken down usually into 3 components. So you have intrinsic cognitive load, which could be the knowledge of a coding language being used on a project. It's your basic day-to-day operations. Extraneous cognitive load includes parts of the environment in which the task is being done. It might be the need to remember multiple console commands in a dynamic testing environment. And extraneous cognitive load it's essentially your undifferentiated heavy lifting. And then germane cognitive load includes aspects that need special attention for learning or higher level performance. It could be the specific aspects of a business domain, like a billing system or a data processing algorithm. That's what leads to valuable insights, innovation, and differentiated value creation. And so we suggested ways to measure cognitive load over time. Maybe that's an interesting metric for DORA to look at more closely after all. And it's not lines of code, but it's not necessarily unmeasurable either. So since we discussed this at an earlier meeting, I copied the full list from the paper here, but it's certainly not everything you could look at and measure. These are things like attrition rates, volunteering versus resisting additional tasks, inter-team communications. And these are just ideas to gauge how stressed and busy people are. And the point really is that management should be keeping a pulse on cognitive load in ways that are meaningful to their organization. They should periodically refine tasks and processes to help keep that manageable balance between workload and job satisfaction. And then you can start to measure the impact of a standardized platform on cognitive load. So in creating a standardized platform, you want to balance standardizing with flexibility, lest you lose opportunities for innovation. Some tips to find that balance are really common sense. Make it the easy path. Like if you use something else, okay, but you're on your own. Make good practices the default. We call this falling into the pit of success. Value at context just means standardizing tools that are already in place. And then don't reinvent the wheel. Make sure to prioritize making things easy to understand and debug as part of your platform process. And treat it as a product. Have dedicated teams, roadmaps, specified business outcomes, and et cetera for your platform. And then to support flexibility and adoption, platforms should provide a path to experimentation, customization, and evolution. So one way to do that is to treat it like an open source project. Allow others to contribute and suggest changes to the documentation, issue pull requests, propose and develop new features and capabilities that can be made available in the platform. Make the foundation of the platform be very small and composable and have interconnected components like APIs with an API-first approach to reduce friction. And pair your development platform with a management platform. So that can help engineers and users provide feedback on the performance, and that can just inform improvements. I will say that the MVP approach was the most hotly debated topic within the group. So whether or not to start with a greenfield versus brownfield project. And at the end, we decided to just list the pros and cons of both because we couldn't really come to a consensus there. So that's kind of an interesting thing to read in the article and whether or not to start with one versus the other. But this is basically the overview of the paper, the things that we touched on. I hope it spurs a good conversation here today, and I appreciate you for giving me the time to talk about it today.
Sarah, thank you so very much. I know I really enjoyed the article. I think it gave me a lot more context in the way I was thinking about a platform. And so I'm very excited that you were able to share it with us today, some highlights, and also now for us to move to the lean coffee discussion.